Before we start, please comment what city you were watching from. I might just find a terrifying story that happened right there. And before we begin, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay until the very end, because the ending of this story will truly haunt you. It happened 3 summers ago. I've gone camping most of my life. Small trips with friends, the kind where you drink cheap beer under the stars and try to scare each other with ghost stories. But that weekend, we didn't have to make anything up. There were 4 of us: me, my best friend Kyle, his girlfriend Jenna, and my cousin Mark. We picked a remote spot deep in the Cascades. No cell service, no park rangers, just miles of pine and fog, the kind of silence that hums in your ears after sundown. We arrived late afternoon. I remember how the air smelled like wet bark and moss. Everything was still, not even birds. We set up camp by a small creek, pitched our tents, and built a fire. When the sun sank, the temperature dropped fast and fog began to roll between the trees like smoke. Around the fire, Kyle joked, "No cell signal, no people. If someone went missing out here, no one would ever know." Jenna punched his arm, laughing nervously, but I could tell she didn't like that thought. None of us did. As the night went on, we drank and talked, but something felt off. You know when you suddenly realize how loud your own laughter sounds in the dark? Every time we went quiet, it felt like the woods were listening. Around midnight, I stepped away from the fire to pee behind a tree. That's when I heard it. Soft crunching, like someone walking slowly through the undergrowth about 20 feet away. I froze. At first, I thought it was Kyle trying to mess with me, but the sound didn't stop when I called out, "Dude, knock it off." No answer. Just that steady crunch. Crunch. Crunch, circling. I zipped up fast and walked back to camp, pretending nothing was wrong. But when I got back, everyone was still by the fire, all 3 of them. "Were any of you walking around just now?" I asked. They shook their heads. Mark looked uneasy. "Probably a deer," he said. But his voice cracked a little. We stayed up another hour, but the woods never made another sound. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, just beyond the firelight, watching. When we finally went to bed, I lay awake listening. The forest was dead silent. No wind, no bugs. Then, just as I started drifting off, I heard it again. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. The zipper on my tent was just a few inches from my face. I didn't dare move. I could feel it, that presence right outside. And then, the faintest scrape of metal against fabric, like a knife dragging across the tent wall. My breath caught. I wanted to call out to Kyle, but fear pinned me down. Whoever it was, they were right there. The scraping stopped, and after what felt like hours, the sound faded, one step at a time, back into the woods. When the morning light finally came, I stumbled out and saw deep boot prints in the mud behind my tent. Human, not animal. "Kyle, come look at this," I said. He crouched beside me, running his hand over the prints. "Man, these are fresh." Mark frowned. "Could be a hiker passing through." "Then why circle our camp in the middle of the night?" Jenna whispered. We all exchanged a look, the kind that says something isn't right. That day, we debated whether to pack up and leave, but Mark convinced us to stay one more night. "We're miles from the nearest trail," he said. "No one's gonna bother us." But I noticed he kept his hunting knife strapped to his belt after that. We tried to enjoy the day, went down to the creek, skipped stones, and cooked lunch. The mood lightened, until we found something downstream. A shoe, old, soaked, and torn, a hiking boot half buried in the mud. At first it seemed random. Maybe someone lost it years ago, but then Jenna pointed out the color. It was the same shade of brown as the boot prints behind my tent. We looked at each other, and nobody said a word. That night, when darkness fell again, we built the fire higher. Kyle kept his flashlight beside him, finger resting on the switch. The woods were so dark it felt like the trees were pressing in around us. At one point, Jenna swore she saw someone standing just beyond the light, a shape, motionless between the pines. But when we shined our beams, there was nothing there. Just fog. I told myself it was the alcohol, the shadows, the paranoia. But deep down, I knew we weren't alone. We took turns staying awake that night, doing watch shifts. Kyle went first, then me. Around 3 a.m., as I sat by the dying fire, I heard it again. That same steady crunching, coming from the direction of the creek. I aimed my flashlight toward the sound, heart pounding. For a split second I saw movement. Something pale ducked behind a tree. "Who's out there?" I yelled. My voice cracked. No answer. The others stirred awake. Kyle grabbed his light and we scanned the trees together. But the beam couldn't reach far through the fog. Then, from deep in the darkness, came a sound that froze my blood. A whistle. A long, low human whistle. It wasn't random. It had a rhythm to it, almost like a tune. We listened, holding our breath. The whistling stopped. Then it started again, this time closer. Kyle grabbed his axe. "We're leaving, now." We tore through the campsite, stuffing our gear into bags. But as we were packing, that whistle started circling us, moving, changing direction like someone pacing just beyond the firelight. Every hair on my neck stood up. And then, through the fog, we saw it. A figure, standing just inside the tree line. Tall, shoulders hunched, face hidden beneath a dark hood. Watching. The whistle stopped. The forest went silent. Kyle shouted, "Get the hell away from us." The figure didn't move. Then, the flashlight flickered out, and in that moment, everything plunged into darkness. The beam died so suddenly it felt like the night swallowed us whole. Jenna screamed. I fumbled with my own flashlight, hands trembling so bad I nearly dropped it. When the light finally clicked on, the figure was gone. Only fog. Thick, shifting fog that seemed to move on its own. "Where'd he go?" Mark whispered. His voice was barely audible over our breathing. Kyle swung his axe toward the trees. "Pack the rest. We're getting out of here now." We didn't argue. We tore down what was left of the tents, threw everything into the back of Kyle's truck, and piled in. The moment he turned the key, the headlights cut through the fog, and for one horrifying instant I wish they hadn't. Because standing 30 feet ahead, right in the center of the dirt road, was the same hooded figure. Still. Silent. Watching us. The hood was up, but I swear, even from that distance, I could feel his eyes on us. "Go," I said. "Just go." Kyle slammed the gas. The tires spun in the mud before gripping, and we lurched forward. The figure didn't move, not an inch, as we sped past. The last thing I saw in the rearview mirror was that still silhouette dissolving back into the fog. We didn't stop for an hour. No one said a word. The adrenaline was fading, and all that was left was silence, and the sound of the tires crunching gravel. When we finally reached the highway, we pulled into a gas station. The bright fluorescent lights felt almost unreal after the woods. Jenna was crying quietly. Mark looked pale, staring blankly out the window. Kyle got out, pacing, trying to calm down. "Probably some psycho camper," he muttered. "Maybe a squatter or something." I wanted to believe that, but something didn't add up. Who wanders through a forest at 3 a.m. without a flashlight, whistling? We filled up, grabbed some snacks, and decided to crash at a cheap roadside motel. But when we got there, all the rooms were booked except one with 2 queen beds. We took it, desperate to get inside and lock a door behind us. That night, I couldn't sleep. The motel was quiet except for the hum of the AC unit and the occasional car passing outside. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself it was over. Then, around 2:30 a.m., I heard it again. A whistle. Faint. Distant. The same slow, eerie tune from the woods. I shot up, heart hammering. Kyle stirred. "You hear that?" I whispered. He nodded, already reaching for his phone, but the sound faded before we could pinpoint it. I checked the window. Nothing outside but the empty parking lot and the flickering neon sign. Still, I couldn't shake the dread crawling up my spine. Morning came, and it felt almost like a dream. We checked out, got coffee, and tried to laugh it off. Mark joked that maybe we'd all imagined it, some shared hallucination from too much whiskey and campfire smoke. But later that day, when Kyle went to get something from the truck, he came back pale. "You need to see this." On the passenger side door, drawn into the layer of dried mud, was a symbol. 3 vertical lines crossed by 1 horizontal, like a crude tally mark. None of us had done it. We stared at it for a long time. Mark tried to wipe it off, but the streaks were etched too deep. It wasn't just drawn. It had been carved into the paint with something sharp. We decided not to talk about it anymore. We went home, promised to stick to normal campsites from now on, and that was that. Or so we thought. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Jenna. Her voice was shaking. "Did you tell anyone where we went camping?" "No, why?" She took a breath. "Someone's been leaving things on our porch." She sent me photos, a bundle of sticks tied with twine, shaped into that same symbol. Then another one, a small filthy boot, child-sized, left on her welcome mat. My stomach turned cold. I called Kyle, told him what happened. He sounded distant, distracted. "Yeah, about that," he said. "There's something weird here too." He texted me a picture. On his driveway, written in what looked like charcoal, was a word: "Listen." That night I couldn't sleep. Every noise made me jump. I checked my locks 3 times. Around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. At first I thought it was spam, until I opened it. There was no message, just a single audio file. I hesitated, then hit play. At first, nothing, just static. Then, faintly, the sound of someone breathing, slow, steady, close to the microphone. And then came that same whistle, the exact same tune. I dropped the phone, heart pounding. I tried to call Kyle, but he didn't pick up. Neither did Jenna or Mark. I barely slept until sunrise. The next day, Kyle finally called back. His voice was shaking. "Someone broke into my backyard last night," he said. "My dog wouldn't stop barking. When I checked this morning..." He stopped. "What?" I asked. He exhaled shakily. "There was a boot print by the fence, the same kind from the woods. We called the police, but there wasn't much they could do. They said there wasn't enough evidence to connect anything. Probably kids playing a prank," one officer said. "But kids don't leave voicemails of themselves breathing." The next weekend, Mark went missing. He was supposed to meet a friend for lunch, but never showed. His car was later found abandoned near a trail entrance, about 40 miles from where we ID camped. The driver's door was open, keys still inside. The only thing missing was his hunting knife. The police searched for a week, dogs, drones, volunteers, and nothing. It was like he'd vanished into thin air. I couldn't shake the guilt. I kept thinking, maybe if we hadn't gone back for that second night, maybe if we'd left sooner. A month later, I got another text from that same unknown number. This time it was a photo. It was dark, grainy, taken in the woods. But I recognized what I was looking at immediately. Our old campsite, and in the center of the frame, the burned-out circle of our fire pit. Except now, there was something else. 4 sticks standing upright in the dirt, each one tied with twine. 3 had small name tags attached: Kyle, Jenna, me. The 4th was blank. When I saw that 4th blank tag, my blood went cold. I must have stared at that photo for 5 minutes straight before I finally realized I was holding my breath. I tried calling Kyle first. No answer. Then Jenna, straight to voicemail. I kept dialing until my phone overheated in my hand. By the time the sun came up, I'd already packed a duffel bag and driven to Kyle's house. His truck was still in the driveway, door unlocked. I stepped inside, calling his name. No response. The house was a mess. Half-eaten food on the counter, TV still on static, back door wide open. Then I noticed it, carved into the wood of his kitchen table, that same symbol. 3 vertical lines, 1 horizontal, deep gouges. And underneath it, scratched faintly into the grain, were 2 words. "Listen close." Something about that made my stomach turn. I left immediately and called the police again. They searched the area, but found no sign of Kyle. Just like Mark, gone without a trace. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers. Against every ounce of reason, I drove back toward the forest where we'd camped. The further I went, the less reception I had, until finally the road turned to dirt and the fog rolled in thick as soup. I parked near the same trailhead and grabbed a flashlight. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but some twisted part of me needed to see that campsite again. Needed to know if it was real. The woods were unnaturally quiet. No crickets, no wind, just the crunch of my boots and the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. It took about 20 minutes to reach the clearing, and when I did, I froze. The fire pit was there. The circle of ash. The same spot we'd laughed, drank, and joked at a few weeks ago. But now it looked wrong. Those 4 sticks from the photo were planted exactly where they'd been, except this time, the 4th one wasn't blank anymore. My name was written on it, and tied just below the tag was something that made my throat close up. A small, blood-stained piece of cloth, the same red flannel Kyle had been wearing the night we last saw him. I took a step back, hands shaking. The air felt heavy, electric. The forest seemed to be watching me. That's when I heard it. The whistle. Soft at first, distant. The same slow, eerie tune from that first night. Then closer, louder, coming from behind the trees. I spun around, shining the flashlight wildly, hard in my throat. The beam flickered over bark, branches, shadows, and then stopped. Someone was standing between 2 trees, maybe 30 feet away. Tall. Hood pulled low. He didn't move, didn't speak. Just stood there, that whistle echoing through the still air. "Who are you?" I shouted. "What do you want?" No answer. Just that same slow tune, like he was taunting me. I took a step back and my foot caught on something. I fell hard, my flashlight rolling away. When I grabbed it, the beam landed on a pile of objects just a few feet from me. A pair of muddy boots, a half-burned phone, and a familiar silver keychain with a camping knife attached. Marks. I felt sick. When I looked back toward the trees, the figure was gone. The woods were dead silent again. No whistle, no movement, just the suffocating fog closing in. I turned and ran. Branches tore at my clothes. Roots caught my feet. But I didn't stop. The trail twisted endlessly, like the forest was rearranging itself. Every few seconds I'd hear faint footsteps behind me, just far enough to make me question if I was imagining it. Finally, I saw the faint glow of my truck's headlights through the mist. I sprinted, threw open the door, and peeled out of there, tires spraying dirt. I didn't stop until I hit the main road. By the time I reached home, it was almost dawn. My hands were still shaking as I locked every door and window. I didn't sleep. 2 days later, the police called. They found Jenna's car abandoned about 10 miles from where we'd camped. No sign of her, just the same carved symbol in the dirt by the driver's door. They asked if I wanted protection. I said yes, of course. But deep down I knew it wouldn't matter. You can't protect yourself from something that doesn't belong to this world. That night, I tried to distract myself, scrolling through my phone. That's when I noticed a new file in my gallery. I hadn't taken it. It was a video, 32 seconds long. The first few seconds were just static. Then the camera steadied, pointing at my house. The view was from the edge of the woods behind my backyard. My bedroom light was visible through the window. At the 10-second mark, a faint whistle began. By the end of the clip, I could see movement. A tall figure stepping closer toward the camera before the screen cut to black. I called the police again, but when they came, the file was gone, completely vanished. My phone showed no trace of it ever existing. For weeks, I barely left the house. Every night, I'd hear noises outside, branches breaking, soft footsteps, sometimes even that faint tune carried by the wind. I kept the lights off and the curtains closed. Last night I woke to the sound of my front door creaking. I stayed completely still, barely breathing. Then came slow, deliberate footsteps moving across the floor. I reached for my phone, but it slipped from my hand and clattered onto the hardwood. The footsteps stopped. Then, from the darkness, I heard it. That whistle. closer than ever. I don't know how long I sat there frozen. Minutes, maybe hours. The sound eventually faded, and when I finally gathered the courage to move, the sun was already rising. I went to the front door. It was wide open. On the porch, tied neatly with twine, was another bundle of sticks, 3 vertical, 1 horizontal, and hanging from it, a new tag. It had my name crossed out. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever experienced something terrifying while camping or out in the woods? And before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next story I share might just happen closer to your home than you think.